explore themselves and their options. As a teacher, I got noticed. A lot of students feel pressured and anxious when they were asked about questions, what they really want to do with their life. As you know, Korean students, they have to study, and they don't take time to think seriously about what they really want to do with their future. What do you think students should know to become a good career decision maker? I think they have to know about themselves and their options. So that's why I got interested in this material, and we should move on. Yeah, second reason is more practical. These days, a lot of universities are expanding admission officers screening system, 입학사정관제. So a lot of students want to convince their 입학사정관 admission officers by showing them what they have achieved in terms of their short-term or long-term career goals. And also, the things we do in our class can be filed into a career portfolio, which can be ready to be submitted to their 입학사정관. And plus, the activities we do in our class can be uploaded onto students' education system. So it can help students a lot in a practical way. We should move on. And by integrating Korean materials, I think we can create more authentic English learning environment. Students' English is not separate from their life any longer. Students feel they are doing something meaningful using Korean material, using English, which can be their intrinsic motivators. And to move on here. And I'm gonna tell about what I did with Korean materials. As I told you before, the first thing students want to know about in terms of career decision making is they want to know about themselves. They want to know about what their values are and what their interests are and what their skills are. So to help them clarify their values, I did value auction. To refer to worksheet 1 on page 168. And when I do value auction, students will be given this worksheet. And at first, students will go through the value list individually, and they gonna prioritize the values. They gonna rank which would be their first value and second most important value and third most important value, something like that. And once they decide their personal values, they will get together as a group. And as a group, they're gonna decide their group values. In this process, some students have to negotiate and sacrifice their personal value for their group value. And it will involve a lot of speaking activities. Once, as a group, I do this activity, let's do that briefly. Would you read the description on page 172, the worksheet 5, and think about yourself. Read the description and think about yourself. And below the hexagon, you will find 3 blanks. And in the first blank, you want to put down a code which sounds most like you. And in the second blank, you want to put a code which sounds second most like you. And in the third blank, you want to put a code which sounds third most like you. So students will decide their interest code. And then, once they decide their personal code, then students will be invited to hold a party game. To do hold a party game, around the classroom where I put 6 different hold and codes. And under each code, I put a desk with some snacks and soft drink to boost party spirit. And I asked them to imagine they were invited to a remote and mysterious island, and there they're gonna meet different groups of people, and they will use their best social skill to mingle and mix with them. I give them the signal to go to their first code, and students will move to their first code, and there they're gonna mingle and mix with them. And you will notice usually S-type, if their code got S, they will be very comfortable and be very happy there. But investigative type and realistic type, they will be very shy and they will be very uncomfortable. And at that time, you want to go to them and help them out by asking why they decided to come here and what made them think they go to this specific course. In next summer, I'm going to show you a little video clip of value auction and hold party game. And now you might wonder, so I know my value and I know my interest, but I wonder what kind of job will reflect my values and my interest. And to help this process, I recommend this webpage, www.online.org. And this webpage provides really good occupational information, but you can just type any occupational name and they will generate the occupational information. But because we now know what my values and what my interests are, we can do a text search. You click on that search on the top. You already did. And if allowed, we can search an application by my interest type. We should choose my interest and go. And would you choose investigative? Because my first goal is investigative. Would you click on that? And it will ask, what is your second goal? And my second code is artistic, so you put A. And my third code is S, so you put S and go. And they will generate some result. And if you see that, you start there. Substance abuse and behavior disorder counselor matches my interest. And if you are interested in that occupation, you can click on it and it will give you a lot of information. Want to go through and you want to research about that. Thank you to go back to my presentation. And once, now we explored ourselves, and now we want to explore my options. These days, students can get a lot of information, occupational information from books and web pages. But if they really want to get the real insider information, I recommend you want to try information interview. In information interview, you want to find someone who is in the field of your interest, and you can interview with them about their job. In fact, semester, I gave my students, as a homework, I gave my students information interview as their semester project. At first, students resisted on the grounds that it would be very hard for them to find someone who is in the field of their interest. But I resist, and their complaints subsided soon. And sometimes usually students, they use their parents' network, their friends' network, and their friends' parents' network, and they knew the world is so small. And if all of this failed, and they were just so brave, they just visited web page and requested information interview. And some of my students, they were interested in high-rank police officer, so they just visited local police station and requested interview with the head director of the station. And the head director responded very positively, and he sent them a police car to bring them to the station, and they completed information interview very successfully. And would you go back? And would you move on? Sorry. Yeah, thank you. And it is a homework done by one of my students. She interviewed a program director. She was very interested in PD, so she interviewed him. Here's the picture of him, and she researched in PD who and how to be and what to do. So students can get a lot of real inside information. And move on again. And career planner, we did career planner. Career planner is not English related per se, but it can provide information interview opportunity for students who fail all of their contact there. So in career planner, we invited career panelists who is in field of our students' career interest to school, and instead of having them just giving lecture about their job, we had our students to talk. We had our students ask, and the career planner asked a discussion. To move on. We don't have the sound here. I'm just gonna skip here. But instead of
그때 당시에 지망생들이 되게 다양한 학과가 많았는데 근데 그 분야를 지원하는 데 있어서 그래도 다른 학과를 나왔을 때보다 신문방송학과를 나왔을 때 생길 수 있는 메리트가 있다면 어떤 게 있는지
아직 아나운서 얘기하는 거예요. MBC 그때 공채 프로그램이 있었거든요.
So as you see, students ask and panelists answer a question. And I also did writing an idea resume. When my students entered the high school, I taught them how to write an English resume. If you are interested in writing an English resume, I recommend this webpage, www.korea.fsu.edu. And it will give you a lot of information about resume writing. And after teaching them writing a resume, I gave them homework to write an idea resume they want to have by the time they graduate from the high school. And this is to help them to think about the things they have to do to achieve their short-term goals. And also, I want to make them think about the things which can make them strong candidates when they apply to university. And through this activity, I think we can plant a seed of hope, and also the things they put on their resume can guide them and motivate them to become a better student. And move on. And this is what should go back. This is the resume done by my student, and he categorized his 6 그 가이던스가 레주메를 효과적으로 쓰는 방법이라든지 크리에이티브 라이팅을 잘 쓰는 방법들에 좀 아쉬웠다. I thought I gave them enough instruction, but they didn't feel the same way. I'm sorry about that. And move on. And last, through this activity, I think we will create more interactive classroom and improve core skills. And we can teach students how to fish. Because our students in the future, they will be faced with a lot of career decision-making situation. And at that time, they can utilize what they have learned in their English class. And we can also have career portfolio for admission officers. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful presentations. I cannot agree more because career development is such an important job for the students. So learning English with a career planning task will be catching many words with one stone, absolutely. So is there anyone who have a questions? Please raise your hand. Any questions? All right, so let's give our hands again. These are one notice from the headquarters. So every Secretary General from each Koseta will have a meeting right now in Beato Hall. So one more time. So there's a notice from the headquarters. Every Secretary General from the each Koseta will have a meeting right now in Beato Hall. So we're going to move on to the next presenter. The next presenter is Ms. Lee Jin-young from Koseta. Her presentation will be on GDP project for enhancing communicative competence. So let's welcome her with a big hand.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lee Jin-young, working at Cheongsang High School, and I'm from Koseta. First, I'm much honored to be here in front of all the great and enthusiastic teachers and supervisors to share my teaching plan. And I also would like to thank Koseta and Koseta to give me such a great opportunity to give my presentation. Sorry, it's not working. Before presenting my teaching plan, as a warm-up activity, I'll show you a short video clip. Let's watch it together. Could you please? The sound is not working. This is my first class of class 12. And I know it looks like a little bit artificial situation, but actually they did like that when I first entered the classroom. And I just asked them to do it again though. How was it? How was it, teachers? Actually, they're really adorable, aren't they? But is there any teachers who can guess the reason why they are screaming and clapping when I enter the classroom?
Because they could meet a beautiful woman teacher.
Oh, thank you. That is not because it is English class, but because I'm young and new female teacher. So, then how can I maintain those reactions at every time, at every class? How can I make just all the students happy in the English classroom and eager to learn English? I was thinking over and over, and this idea came up. GDP project. Sorry, it's not working well. So, is there any person who have heard about the GDP project? Of course not. I made it myself. So G stands for guessing game. D is differentiating task. P is peer assessment. Now let's look at closely GDP project. First, could you close your eyes for a moment? Could you please close your eyes for a moment? I know you are tired, but don't sleep, okay? And I want you to imagine that you have to learn something new. Let's say belly dance. Even though you are not poor at dancing, you have to learn how to dance while wearing the proper costume. How do you feel? How do you feel, teacher? Yeah, some teachers said it might be exciting. Some teachers said it might be exciting. Now open your eyes. Some teachers say it might be exciting, but others are terrible. It's the same to our students when they learn English. Some students are looking forward to English class, but others are reluctant to be in the classroom. Some are happy, but others are nervous and shy. Then, what do you think is the most rudimentary factors before students teaching English? So, I set my first goal like students are able to enjoy learning English. For students to enjoy learning English, these three factors should be rudimentary and significant factors before students teaching English. The first one is affective domain. We have to consider students' affective factors. No cognitive activities can be carried out without a certain amount of self-confidence, self-esteem, and belief in the capability for that activity. So we should avoid embarrassment of students and affirm each student's talent and strength, and encourage risk-taking. Second, intrinsic motivation is needed. For achieving this, we have to develop good relationship with learners, build students' self-confidence and autonomy, and personalize the learning process and increase goal orientation. Finally, we, as a teacher, have to create comfortable classroom atmosphere by using a lot of eye-catching exam materials and allowing mistakes and help the students to laugh with each other and being supportive and patient. For achieving these three factors, G is needed. Learning English is just hard work, so game as a warm-up activity can help and encourage all the students to sustain their interest. Guessing game in particular keep all students, even the novice learner, interested and involved. And it can also contribute to lowering the students' anxiety, building self-confidence, and also create comfortable atmosphere by laughing with each other. And I'm going to incorporate power teaching and create eye-catching ads. Now I think we got the rudimentary factors. Now students are ready for learning something. So, let's move on to the main part. What is a language for? What is a language for? Yeah, as all teachers know, language is for communication. And I think the best way of keeping students engaged in meaningful and authentic language use is task-based learning. And task-based learning can bring the real world into the small classroom. Through this, students' primary focus is on meaning, not form. and they have the real purpose for communication. And it can also create learner-centered learning, and it can integrate the core skills. The staff teachers have questions to its usefulness to lower-level students. So I prepared a video clip. Let's watch it together. So go ahead.
You can make fire with using little fire.
What?
So can we use the compass for making fire?
How?
So do you know it?
No.
No.
No glass. No glass. But plastic.
So can you explain one more why do you need a knife? Why do you need a knife?
Animal kill. Animal. Food. Cactus. Cut.
Okay, so is there another person about the compass? No. This is my second class of class 12, and I wanted to divide the students according to their personality and learning style. And English proficiencies. So I did the Desert Talent task. As all teachers know, Desert Talent task is an imaginary task. So students imagine that they were shipwrecked and they have to choose 10 objects from the ship to survive the desert. And they have to explain the reason why they choose it. As you can see, this student has no problem expressing his ideas and opinions because he had lived in America for 2 years. But the other students has a hard time to speak. But luckily, he is a very, very outgoing student, so he uses gesture and body languages to communicate. But what about the shy students? What can we do with the shy students? So, we need D. D is differentiating task. First, based on the students' ideas, teacher designed one basic task, including many kinds of different small tasks. And the basic task is given to each group. And the teacher just let them know that there are many different kinds of tasks so that each student can contribute to the task completion considering their learning style, personality, and their English proficiencies. Here's an example of a differentiated task. The main task is creating their own music video. It can be divided into 2 scaffolding tasks. The first scaffolding task is changing and personalizing the rhythm. And it also composed of many small tasks, changing the rhythm at any level, and decide their own song title, present their new song to the classmate, and explain the reason why they changed the song the way it is. And the second scaffolding task is designing music video storyboard. And they can draw the storyboard and they write down some simple captions and they write down the materials they have to prepare for the recording. In other words, we should go back to the previous slide. Previous slide. Sorry. Previous one. Thank you. In other words, each group is given the same task is given to the same task. I mean creating the new music video. And it is composed of many small tasks. For example, if students are fluent at English, the students can change the readings at sentence level. And if students at the low-level student can change the readings at word level, or they just decide their subtitles. If there's a student who are very good at drawing, the student just draws a storyboard while communicating with each other. That's all for the main part. Now let's move on to the P. Korean government has been emphasizing that small class size is very, very effective for improving students' communicative confidence and very, very effective for conversational class. But still, many high school teachers teach students in large classes. We have no choice, that's all. I'm sure there is many advantages in larger class. Here's the advantages. First, students have the opportunity to observe the whole learning process. And second, they can get a lot of feedback from the other students. And peer assessment can also promote autonomous learning and reflective learning. And last, the next one. I think you delete the slide. That's okay. So the key point of peer assessment is large class, we have no choice. So through peer assessment, students get a lot of feedback. That's the key point of peer assessment. Now let me wrap up my GAP project. I set my ultimate goal like students are able to improve, enhance their communicative competence. And I divided this ultimate goal into 3 aims. The first one is students are able to enjoy learning English and they are engaged in meaningful and authentic language use, communication. And the third one is students can implement autonomous learning and reflective learning. For achieving these 3 aims and ultimate goal, I think GDP project can be useful for students. Now, I want all my adorable students can achieve their communicative competence while enjoying learning English. That's all for my presentation, and thank you for your help listening. Thank you.
Thank you for your fantastic presentation, even though there are a lot of technical troubles. I apologize for that. It was, before the presentation, I was really wondering what the GDP stands for, and now I became know that. Thank you. Do you have any questions for the Ms. Lee's presentation? No? All right, thank you. Let's give a big hand again. Sorry to ask you, the presenters, we have a time limitation, so I'm really sorry for that, but would you please a little bit speed up? Thank you. So we're going to move on to the next presentation here. Our next presenter, you already met her before. So Ms. Lee Jae-kyung from Koseta. The presentation is on effectively boosting students' English speaking pronunciation and fluency. Let's welcome her again.
Show you video clips so that I can explain why I decided to teach this